Good morning, frothers, and welcome back to Wheatlow Brewery. And it's another brew day today, and we're brewing an interesting beer today because we're going to be using an experimental hop from a UK hop from Charles Faram called CF243. And this is the subject of a beer competition at BeerX this year, which is a big sort of trade show for small independent brewers and home brewers that takes place once a year in the city of Liverpool in the northwest of England. And there's always a number of competitions between the small breweries, but there's also a homebrew competition. And in this case, Charles Faram have allowed a release of these CF243 hops. And they want, effectively, homebrewers to come up with ideas on how these hops can be used and how they can shine in particular beers. And I think the best beer the winning beer will get made in a commercial brewery. So, interesting project. But the rules are that it has to be a smash beer, single malt and single hop. So we can only use the CF243. And we can only use one kind of malt, presumably to keep the malt element relatively simple so that the hops can shine. So what I've decided to do is to brew this beer using Maris Otter. So it's 100% Maris Otter, Muntons as it happens today. And then we're going to use 100% CF243, but layered throughout the boiling process. And so it's going to be a golden ale. It's going to hopefully allow the hops to shine. I'm going to do first wort. I'm going to do 30 minutes. I'm going to do last 10 minutes. I'm going to do Whirlpool and a little dry hop as well. So should be an interesting beer. Stick around. We're going to brew it now, and we'll definitely be tasting it. If I've filled my paperwork in properly, I'll enter it into the competition, but I've got a horrible feeling that I forgot to fill the form in, so we'll see. As it's going in a competition and I'm pressed for time, I'm going to use ALDC to just make sure we don't get any diacetyl. I'm also going to put some clarity in to make it gluten-free, because why not? And because I'm pressed for time and I've had a recent success with this new WHC Fountain Bridge yeast fermenting now in about 3 days, I'm going to use that yeast as well. So that should add a little bit of, but not too much, fruity character, and again allow the hops to shine. So it's going to be interesting. Stick around, and we'll make it and we'll taste it. Right, the hop schedule on this beer is that I'm going to spread the hops out as much as I can throughout the brewing process. So I've managed to get a few packets of the hops so that I can put what I want into the beer. And I'm going to go with 100 grams at the start, which is 11.4 IBUs. And then 30 minutes remaining, another 100 grams, 8.8 IBUs. And then I'm going to put 100 in at the end of the boil. And then I'm going to do a Whirlpool of 500 grams at 85, which is what I'm about to do now. So 85, a bit hotter than my normal 80, just to keep the bitterness up where I want it. And then I'm saving a couple of 100 grams, which is about 1.5 grams per litre for a little dry hop as well. Hopefully by layering the hops, we might get little bits from each stage that might help to emphasise the hop, because the purpose, of course, is to emphasise this experimental hop in this beer to make it nice. So to show off the qualities of the hop. And I don't know whether at this stage whether this hop's going to be great for bittering, late hopping, whirlpooling or dry hopping, or a bit of each, or what have you. So I'm hedging my bets. Anyway, it's at 85 now. The whirlpool's going gently round, so I'm going to put these 500 grams in now. Super. Right, so I'm busy transferring the wort over to the fermenter now, and I've got 100 grams of Fountain Bridge yeast, so I'm going to stick that in now and get the froth going. Right, so the 243 is packed up nicely in this uni tank, yeast's in, and I've set the temperature actually at 18 initially, just to start it steady, and I expect as fermentation progresses I can just increase that a little bit. So we'll see how long that one takes to get going. Here is the CF243, freshly poured, and it's a lovely colour. Just only Planet Pale malt. It's lovely and clear, and it's a lovely colour, sort of golden, sort of light honey colour. Really pleased with the colour from that Planet malt. And if you remember, this is a smash beer, single malt and single hop. So the Planet Pale is the malt, and the hop is CF243, experimental hop from Charles Faram. And it's supposed to have at least the limited information that's about there: orange peel, crystallized honey, and spearmint. And actually, having read those descriptors, I do get them. Get all three of them. Would I have been able to pick them out without having read that? I don't think so, because I'm still learning how to do this tasting job. But I must say, it's quite a pleasant hop flavour. It's got a bit of the hedgerowy stuff that you'd expect from an English hop, but I'd never thought of spearmint until I read it. But yes, you can get a bit of that, and the honey, and something sort of, some kind of orangey, citrusy, crystallized or marmalade-y kind of a flavour. So it's a really nice hop. Now, there's a competition for this beer at BeerX, the SIBA, Society of Independent Brewers and Associates. And I was supposed to be entering this, but I forgot to fill the form in, and therefore missed it. But that's why I knew this beer was going to turn out brilliantly, because I've missed my chance to put it into a competition. But never mind. Also interesting is that another home brewer, Stuart Hubbard, sent me his version that he's entering into the competition, and he decided to use Chevalier, which if you watched the channel before, you'd know I'm very fond of that malt. Old-fashioned English malt that can give you marmalade-y flavours. And last night I did a side-by-side with this and his CF243, and of course the hop flavour was almost identical, and the malt flavour sort of splitting hairs, but it had a bit more body to it, I think. This is only 3.8%. I'm not sure what his was, but that body came over in a more balanced way. So I thought it was a really, really good beer that he'd done. And it made me think about how on earth you're going to judge a competition where it's single malt, single hop. It's all the same hop. The beers are going to be very, very similar. And it could turn into a competition for what the best base malt is to use when you're doing a smash beer. That could invert itself from being something to celebrate and discover, this new hop CF243. It could invert itself into being a base malt competition. So it'd be very interesting, really, to speak to the judges after next week's competition and see how they managed to do that. So I'll have to see if I can do that when I'm at the show. But anyway, this particular one I've just poured on the cask. I've canned some as well, and I did have a little bit on keg when I first put it on. It was really nice on the keg, actually, and the carbonation did seem to just lift certain elements of the hop to emphasize them, just as the cask has created this lovely smooth head and softened everything. So the keg carbonation, and indeed I expect in the can, sort of lifted the hop a little bit and added a certain bite to the beer. As to which I prefer, I'm not sure. The second thing about this beer, which is interesting to us because of what we've been doing recently, is that we use the new WHC Fountain Bridge yeast. And whilst, how do they describe that? They say it creates some esters but can create clean beers. So it's almost like a cross between a USO5 clean fermentation and something that creates more, a more traditional real ale yeast. For the sake of simplicity, let's say SO4, which creates lots more estery profiles. Now, I think that it's done quite a good job of making a clean beer out of this one, which is good in this case, because we're trying to get the hop flavour. We've also done the Earl or Jarl with it, and the Duca's IPA, and they've come across in slightly different ways, just as the Usher's beer, which we did with this yeast, it's kind of emphasised the maltiness in that one. So it's interesting. They say it's a versatile yeast, and on the evidence of what we've done so far with it, I'd be inclined to agree with that, certainly. Now, look at the head retention stroke lacing. Pretty happy with that. It's an absolutely delicious, easy drinking beer. It's interesting to taste the new hops. There's a little bit of a thing in this hop development that we're trying to create English hops that are giving you more stuff, a bit more like New World hops. But this is really interesting because it's still got that English hop character, little tiny bit of hedgerowiness, but it's also got some interesting flavours, but they're not whacking you over the back of the head. They're quite subtle. And in an English cask ale, or perhaps in a clean lager, subtlety would would win, really, wouldn't it? You don't always need a big Mosaic or Citra or Galaxy type of a thing to come and punch you in the face. Sometimes you need a little bit of English subtlety. So I think this is a really nice, interesting hop. It's a lot less sort of woody and so on than your more traditional English hops. So definitely a hop to look for in the future when it finally, if it makes the grade and if it gets named. But I think if it's at the stage where we're being allowed to play with it, it's more than likely will come out. So that's this one done. You can see the leftover froth lacing down the glass. So I better go and fill this up. And in the meantime, I think this has been a really good beer, really good brew day. Nice experimental beer. Pity I forgot about the competition entry form. But never mind, we'll have to enjoy it here. And I'll just say till next time, frothing ale. Cheers.